Welcome to your sophomore year at the Tragedy Academy, where you are the teacher and we are the students. Together, we learn from past tragedy to lay the foundation for a better humanity. The only supplies you'll need: an open mind and a sense of humor. So, tilt that chair back, talk out of turn, and never raise your hand. Because this is the Tragedy Academy, and class is in session. I'm Purist Scott.
Welcome to the Tragedy Academy, a show created to bridge societal divides in a judgment-free zone using candor and humor. My name is Jay, and today I'm joined by my friend Lucas Hill. How you doing today, Lucas?
I'm excellent, Jay. How about yourself?
Doing well, man. Long time no see. Pandemic and all this.
Yeah, it's been a while, but definitely long overdue.
Go ahead and pull the mic down a little bit there in front of you so you can get a little closer when you're talking.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. I want to hear that smooth. It sounds like butter, man. So pandemic, and Lucas is a personal trainer, and I've known him for a while. He worked with me with some of my injuries and stuff like that. Good friend. Lucas, what are you working on, man? How's everything been during the pandemic?
Actually, things have been great, and contrary to popular belief for a lot of people, the pandemic for me was super insightful. It allowed me to slow down and actually think about what it is that I want to do and how I want to spend my time. And I realized that before all of that, I was in a cycle that was very difficult to break. I was living a life of trying to accomplish goals instead of being centered within myself. So having that time to slow down and actually realize that, and not having to be somewhere at all the times and doing something specific, I was able to recalibrate myself and kind of ask, what is it that I want to do and how do I want to spend my time? And that kind of leads me to where I am today. So
I like you said something specific in there. You said having to be somewhere. It's an odd dynamic as a human being that we have these places and points that we're supposed to be at during time, and there really is no reason to do them. And we have so much of that going on in our head that you're right. The pandemic gave us a chance to sit and think about what we're supposed to be thinking about.
Exactly.
Which is none of that shit.
Right. So it was just a really weird experience because, again, being someone who is always used to being somewhere at a specific time, whether that's metaphorical as like a place in life or literally having to be somewhere, it was just a strange sequence of events. And, I enjoyed it a lot because I was able to break the structure. I was able to tap into my intuition and ask myself, okay, what do I enjoy? I didn't know anymore, having to be in a schedule and constantly do for others. It's like, well, when do you do for yourself and how do you do for yourself? And is it going to be productive? There's just so many things placed on every single thought. So to have all that broken free and to, have nature come back and to be able to drive on the street and see animals that you would normally only see in the wild.
Yeah, the world, the earth came back alive when all the vehicles stopped moving. You could see all of the different, birds and animals and things walking around. It was like they were coming out of hiding,
right? Because
it was safer then. Amazing how that works. I'm super happy that you were able to connect with yourself in that time, and I think that a lot of people have had that opportunity. And if they didn't, then they're still suffering. I think that they can still bridge that gap. I think that for me, it was meditation and things like that, and it was that grounding that you're talking about, and trying to stop that hamster wheel that's going in your head that you don't even know why it exists, and
right.
You don't realize how fast it's gotten over the years.
Right.
It starts out at like a really slow pace, like a one-legged gerbil, and then all of a sudden it's like an octopus gerbil running like
it just takes you over.
Yes, and you don't realize that you're never not thinking.
Right.
You're never not thinking.
Yep.
That's not cool.
No, and it's very detrimental to our health because, this is what I've heard before. Meditation is talking to God. No. Visualization is talking to God. Meditation is listening. So if we never get a chance to listen to the higher selves within ourselves, then we never get a chance to let those moments of intuition beyond us actually come into play. We never allow those higher dimensions to interfere with our lives in a positive way. And, in scripture, it says, you are supposed to not lean into your own understanding, but let something greater than you come into the picture. And we don't have that. You know, a lot of people are living stress-filled lives because they're constantly running these programs in their mind, or we can't sleep properly because, you know, we have these thoughts about the day or the thoughts about tomorrow. When we wake up, we check social media. We're living in the past because we're constantly thinking about the things that we have to do rather than allowing each and every day to be a gift, to be a miracle, because it is. And I think back to being a child, and there was so much wonder in every single day. And I feel like over time, as an adult, that has gone down because you know what to anticipate, you know what to expect from each and every day. But when you don't
There's
know,
no more wonder. You lose your childlike wonder. I talked about this the other day. I was watching people a long time ago walk into Disney, and there were two separate types of people. There were people that had been there the first time and they looked just fucking amazed.
Yep.
And then there was the past people, and they were sprinting past them, and they didn't have that same wonder on their face.
right?
And we don't, it's like those glasses for
Right.
colorblindness. Why don't we wake up every morning excited as fuck at the way things look?
Yeah.
We did at one point.
Yeah.
And how do we not appreciate it at least a little bit more?
Right.
Just a little bit more. Why? Because of our mind. Our mind tells us it serves no purpose
Right.
to know what it looks like. The mind is only up there to stop you from getting fucked.
Yeah.
It's keeping you from getting hurt. We think it's devising ways for us to fucking become successful and navigate shit.
Nope.
It's 100% heading off fear at every fucking pass.
Yeah.
Even in your career, even in when you're dealing with people, no matter where you're at, the mind is only guiding you through the societal norms so that you don't get a heightened adrenaline or a fucked up amygdala or whatever the hell it is in your head.
Exactly. And that's super true because if you look to see how much fear and panic not only came from the pandemic itself, even though a lot of people weren't affected for a while or had mild, adverse effects, but also with like social media and with, the big P word that we don't like to talk about, politics. It's everything's been fear driven, and it's unfortunate, but you do see it because people are going to the extremes when you walk outside, it's not like what you see on social media. It's a lot different. It's a lot more calm.
You're 100% correct. Social media is a catalyst for a lot of issues, and I think that generationally there's a painful wedge drawn in there too, because you have two separate types of people. You have an empathetic, open-minded younger generation with a little more knowledge of some other things, and then you have a very strong older generation that that we received everything on the backs of. And then they're being told that everything that they believed in or that they trusted in their lifetime is now shit.
Yep.
Whether it is or not, it makes them feel as if everything that they've done is now tainted. And what do you do in that situation? Whether you believe it or not, we're so blind to things that are going on around us that we will brazenly defend the things that we know are wrong for the simple fact that we need to protect what little bit that we have within our group, within our societal group, our peace. We don't even realize we're doing it. We're just doing it to make ourselves feel accepted with others.
Correct. And I think also a lot of that has to stem with, of course, the ego, but there's a lot of fear within us that maybe we are not enough. Maybe we're unworthy of love. Maybe we're not going to be accepted. And like you said, it was a perfect description. We tend to go towards things that might not be in alignment with our values or what we would generally put out as part of who we are, just to feel like we're a part of a group, or just to feel like we're holding on to the last little bit of something that we actually know, because no one wants to be told, okay, your whole life you think you're something, and then you get told you're something else, and that happens to be the truth. But you don't want to hear that. You've identified with this one aspect so largely that would completely derail you and deconstruct everything you've known yourself to be for your entire life.
We watched it over the last couple of years. I watched people who I love transform during this time, whether it be politics or whatever, the pandemic or any of the other, horrifying things that happened over the last couple of years. And you could watch people I know they're the same person because we are only one thing. We're our authentic self. Everything else is a way to avoid being it or to deny it because of fear.
Correct.
But these people, they got sucked into a different reality. And when they do that, it becomes a transference. And whenever you utilize that, the power of somebody else to give you the feeling inside that you are missing, you're allowing them to make the decisions for you.
Right.
You're allowing them to be your mind, and you're also allowing their failure to be your failure.
Yep.
Because if it doesn't work out and you placed all your eggs in that basket, you're fucked. And we're seeing a lot of people that are in that situation. But what do? We tell them, it's okay. I understand. Come back, but you need to open your mind. Simple as that.
Right. So speaking of opening the mind, I think the pandemic was a perfect opportunity for me to do so. And it's weird, a lot of times we tend to search for certain things in life, and then the things that we actually need happen to find us instead of us searching for it. And that's exactly what happened. So back to the grounding and reconnecting with intuition, I was, on Facebook one day, and I'm reading an article from Vice Media about this plant medicine called 5-MeO-DMT, right?
How long ago was this?
This was March of last
And they're just now hearing about this at Vice?
Yeah, well, so they've had specials about it, but they were putting it out, I guess, as just a media post for people to get more acquainted with what it actually was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reading about it, and I had heard about it, as a kid in this generation.
Yeah, you guys know a lot more than we did.
Yeah.
You have access to a lot more information. Let me say that
yes.
correctly.
Yes, we have readily available access to information that's right in front of us.
Einstein said, don't memorize anything you can look up.
Right. And that's, you don't want to take up that brain power. You would rather have that to go to something a little more important. But so I'm reading this article, and I'd heard about it, years prior. I knew somebody I had grown up with who had gotten off a black market back in the day.
That's not scary. That's where I want to have my God experience from some nefarious dude in a dumpster, handing off some shit. I'm not thinking that's the route to God.
No. And his experience that he had told me about, it definitely didn't seem like a true plant medicine experience that you would want to go
Not
to.
an ayahuasca.
Exactly. But, rather than making a trip to some foreign country, I just thought to myself briefly, that'd be an awesome experience. And I shit you not, 30 minutes later, one of my best friends sends me a text message, and he goes, hey, so I have something that I think you might be interested in. Hit me up when you get this. And I'm like, what is it? Out of anything in the world, I say, what is it? 5-MeO-DMT? He responds back, yes. Immediately, I had chills all over my body. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I was just joking about that. He goes, no, I'm actually serious. I met this guy who's a shaman, and I tried it last night. And based on my experience and knowing you as well as I do, I think you would enjoy this greatly. So I thought about it, and I sat there for 10 minutes without replying. And
this is Bufo Frog?
This is the Bufo. Yep.
This is the real deal.
The real deal. From the Sonoran Desert, the Bufo Frog.
So we don't endorse any illegal drugs here on the Tragedy Academy, just so everybody's out there. So whatever you're doing is solely what you're doing.
Yes.
Although I am still fucking interested.
Yes.
I've never done these things. I haven't experienced these particular things, but I've always been curious because they seem to be very congruent with a lot of things that we know as religions and different things like that. Now, when I say congruent, I'm not saying it takes the place of or anything like that. I'm actually talking about there's just similarities.
Of course. And, with the plant medicines, a lot of studies have actually shown that these chemicals that exist in nature have evolved alongside of us as humans. So they have to be here for some reason. And they exist everywhere.
Earth does not make mistakes. Every time it rains, it grows a plant that will fucking change your outlook on life.
Correct.
Which, thank God, the VA and other psychiatric places are starting to bring in LSD, DMT, or not DMT. They're bringing in, ecstasy, psilocybin, all that stuff they're bringing in. Amazing, because we're starting to figure out that we have a fucking endocannabinoid system.
Yeah.
Like a system. Yeah. Not like, one receptor or something, we have a whole system.
Yeah.
Like a digestive system, your pulmonary, all these different things. And we've denied that, and it's grown beside us the whole time. I'm not saying that you replace, your life's moral compass with drugs.
No.
Or something like that. But keep an open mind that these things are around us, and they've been proven to change a lot of things. There are reasons why shaman and small, different villagers or small sects and tribes in South America or other countries where they don't want outsiders.
Right.
They don't want outsiders. They literally call us insane. Monks will call us insane, right? And they don't mean that as a derogatory term. They actually mean it that we're legitimately insane. We fly around the world to take naps and get a break.
Yeah.
That's kind of fucked up if you think about
It's
it.
a little backwards.
Right, exactly. And they know that, and they don't want the disease, which is what you've been talking about, the mind.
Correct.
So DMT, did you try it?
So before we get back into that, I definitely want to touch back to something you said. And when it comes to how we live right now, I also believe that the powers that be don't want us to have that freedom of expression, that freedom of thought. And so there's an agenda behind it. But, you know, that agenda has been exposed and the veil has been lifted. And that's why we're starting to see more legalization of those cannabinoids and psilocybin and LSD compounds, because they have a lot of beneficial properties. But again,
and they can't kill you.
Right.
Alcohol can.
And we can get it at the store. You got to be 21 and that's it. Anyways, so so he sends me the message, and I think back to a statement in the book Think and Grow Rich. And Napoleon Hill says that he got offered an opportunity to become mentored by Dale Carnegie. Instead of thinking about it, he just said yes, because he knew that whatever the consequences were going to be, it would put him in a better position after the fact than where he was at that exact moment. So
isn't this a concept of a Jim Carrey movie? He says yes to everything, like for like the Yes Man.
Similar.
It's similar, but with guidelines.
With guidelines, exactly. So I was keeping my health in mind, but I said yes, and I ended up meeting up with my friend, and I met the shaman. And it was a lot different than I expected. You know, I expect some older person who's had a lot of experience and maybe is from a country that has tribes of some sort. And this guy was just a regular guy. He was, you know, like 30 years old. But he had quit his corporate job to become a shaman because of his experiences with this specific plant medicine. Now, I love to experiment. I am very big on existentialism, and I like to explore the boundaries of my consciousness.
We couldn't figure that out by now.
So, I mean, I've done a lot of experimentation in the past with those compounds that we had previously mentioned. And there's two types of DMT. There's NN-DMT, which is the more accessible one. That's where you find a lot of grasses and roots all over the world. But then that 5-MeO is that bufo frog. It comes from the frog in the Sonoran Desert.
It's, what is it called? The death particle or something like that? Or the God particle?
God particle.
Because it's what we naturally secrete prior to death in order to deal with that ego death.
Right. They say that you release a lot when you die and small bits when you dream. So a lot of stories in religion, I've come back to this thought that maybe a lot of the moments of people getting in contact with quote unquote God is actually a release of these chemicals, whether it's through themselves or whether it's through external sources like the plant medicine and unknowingly ingesting these chemicals. But so back to what happened. I get there, I'm talking to the shaman and to my friend, and, you know, I'm asking my friend, hey, you know, how was your experience? I didn't want to ask him over the phone, but like, how did you enjoy things? What was it like for you? And he goes,
the real question, I'd like to point something out. I'm going to tell you what the real question is, veiled in everything you just said.
Sure.
Did it freak you the fuck out or not?
Yes.
That's exactly what the question is. As a human, when you're looking at somebody else that did it, was it worth it?
Right. Basically, that is what I was getting down to, because I had done the other version, and it definitely is like Space Mountain blasting off through the tunnel. And when you leave that tunnel, you're in somewhere else. Like, you are not physically present anymore. You can open your eyes and you see things where you are, but it doesn't feel like you're in your body. But when you close your eyes, you are not in the same place. And you're getting these hits of information that are beyond us. And people like to call it, you know, the divine library of consciousness, the
Akashic records or something like that. Yeah,
exactly. But contrary to belief, without doing those things, that place exists.
Exactly.
But it takes the experience for you to actually understand that. And so I had known that place existed, and it wasn't my aim to have any intention aside from, you know, if I were to do this experience this night, all I want to do is maybe further understand my particular purpose. You know, why am I here? Is there even a particular purpose, or am I creating it? And how can I be in a sense of guidance at all?
You went in that screwed that tight.
Yeah.
I got it. There's got to be a little bit in there. Man, this is going to be fucking fun.
Well, I knew it was going to be fun, but you have to also think this is supposed to be the most potent psychedelic, the most potent hallucinogenic known to man. So with
you were
that,
scared.
I was nervous.
They say that that you have to control your mindset going into something like that.
Yeah, and that's why I enjoy the fact that there was a shaman there, because recreationally, I would never advise anybody to do anything like this ever. Even if you think you are
I'm not
hardcore.
going to be in my garage trying out some DMT next to the
Exactly.
car.
It is-
No fucking way.
No, and I would not recommend it. And people do, and nothing against those people. But for me, it's something much deeper. Again, this is a plant medicine, it's a teacher. And when you have something that needs to be learned, maybe that's when you seek it out, or it seeks you out in my case. It actually sought me out because I was at a place in my life where, the pandemic was just starting. We had just heard news that things were starting to close down. And where I live, there weren't many closures, but it was on the horizon. So things were starting to change in a really weird way. And this was like the opportune time for me to actually get some insight about what needs to happen going forward. So I agreed to it. And the shaman asked me, okay, so what's your experience with psychedelics in the past? And I had told him, numerous times of experimenting with psilocybin, a few times with LSD, and I enjoyed that aspect a lot. And I had done DMT a couple of times. And he's like, okay, perfect. You're going to enjoy this experience. I'm excited to see what comes from it. Do you have any intentions? And I told him what I had just told you about wanting to find myself in a deeper sense and wanting to be in a sense of guidance. Because
just like meditation, you have to go
Exactly.
in with an intention. If you don't go in with an intention, you're just wasting your time.
kind of, yeah.
Well, you're not wasting it, but
Yes, but it could be more effective if you have an
Correct.
intention. So he's like, awesome. I can guide you a little bit better now that I know what you're here for. And he basically told me about the process. So there's a few things that have to happen for you to actually go through the entire process. First, what we did was we went outside, and it was nighttime, like 9:30 in the evening, and
you had to scream as loud as you could and run around and aggravate everybody in the neighborhood.
do a couple backflips, do a couple splits, all that good stuff.
You have to do like a 90s cheerleader routine.
Just to get the body
I want
ready.
him to ask you to do things that you absolutely do not have to do, just so you're like, what the fuck is going on?
I probably would have.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have.
You would have.
Yeah.
If it meant not freaking out, you would have fucking been like,
Yes.
okay, how many times do I say ring around the rosy?
Is that 7 or 8? I don't remember. So we go outside. It's a beautiful night. It's like the end of February, early March, crisp air. And where we were right in nature. So you can hear like the crickets and everything in the background. It was very peaceful. And he lays down this tapestry of Ganesh, the elephant from the Hindi culture. And we have candles all around, just, for lighting and because to keep the bugs away, of course, But
Citronella
Yes.
/ meditation candles.
yes, dual purpose candles. But they actually worked pretty well. I didn't get bit up and it was decent lighting. So we're kneeling on the ground facing each other, and basically he has this this tobacco and herbal mix called rapé.
Okay.
So he also has Palo Santo, which is like very similar to sage. You
Okay.
light it and it's supposed to clear your energy.
Okay.
And then he has this anointing oil. So first he lights the Palo Santo. He wisps it around my body, letting the smoke clear off any negative energy that I might have been carrying with me, right?
Okay.
Then he gives me this rapé. So it's snuff. And if you guys don't know what snuff is, snuff basically, you put it in your nose and somebody blows it up your nose as you inhale.
Now, I know what snuff is from like a redneck backwoods, but nobody ever blew that shit up my buddy's nose.
Yep.
I can tell you that wasn't happening with
Yes.
snuff.
So it's the snuff compound,
Gotcha.
but you get it
Like a
blown
powder.
up. Exactly. But you get it blown up your nose. That way it's instant. So I had no idea what to expect, and I had saw the.
So that was the modicum of ingestion of the DMT?
No, this is still pre-DMT. This is to get your body ready because we're always carrying around energies, and maybe the foods that we eat have certain chemicals that are not going to blend well with these compounds. So you want to make sure that you're a clean slate before you go into it. So I forgot to mention, but he also said, like, make sure that you're eating pretty healthily going into this. Like, if you haven't eaten already, don't eat. Or if you're gonna have something, you have it light and be green, vegetables and
Yeah,
fruit.
you don't want to shit yourself on
Nope.
DMT, man.
Nope.
That would not be cool.
No, it would not be a fun experience. Although I'd probably gain a little more insight, but
How many Freudian things are locked up in a DMT shit yourself situation?
I'm sure a lot. I'm sure a lot. I don't know if I derive pleasure or embarrassment or both, but
Yeah, all sorts of stuff, man. Well, I mean, wanted to find God.
yeah. So the rapé, I had no idea what to expect because he did a little bit himself and he seemed fine. But when I tell you, I've never had an instant fight or flight experience like that in my life. As soon as he blew it up my nose, I could feel the trigger get pushed, and my body instantly freaked out. I started panicking. I couldn't breathe for like 10 seconds. I'm trying to inhale, and I'm just literally like not.
Well, yeah, you got fucking pixie stick in your nose.
Yep. Yeah, but even through my mouth, I couldn't inhale through my mouth. I could hardly exhale. I started like tearing up. I started sweating, and my body freaked out. And he like calmed me down. He put his hands on my shoulder. He's like, just breathe. And I'm like, okay. I could finally take it after like 5-10 seconds. I could finally breathe again. And I looked at him with tears in my eyes, and I'm like, that's insane. And I'm chilling out for about a minute. And he's like, all right, we're back calm again. He's like, you ready for the other nostril? And I'm like,
there's 2 of these fuckers?
There's 2 of these. So I'm like, okay, you know, maybe now that I know what to expect, it won't be so bad. It was the exact same experience.
Of course it was.
The only difference is I knew what to expect, but it didn't change anything.
You just flinched this time.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's the only difference. You don't expect it the first time. You don't flinch. The second time, you still know it's gonna suck.
Yep.
You just now he's having to blow more shit like everywhere.
Exactly.
Probably got it everywhere the second time.
It was disgusting. When I blew out on a paper towel, it was black powder, just gunk coming out of my nose.
Is this a necessity when you do DMT?
Not when you do normal, like NN DMT, but with the ritual, yes. Because
this is the ritual aspect of it, which has been tried and true.
Correct. And I will stand by it every time, no matter how much it sucked ass. It was necessary because immediately after that second nostril was done, I could feel my state of vibration change. I was now at a level, grounded place, completely present. When I came in before, of course, I had some thoughts in my head, you know, like we mentioned previously, the thoughts are always occurring. But now, it was like, no, it was like I had just meditated, and now I'm a clean slate, and I'm vibrating at a level that is completely pure and open to whatever's going to come.
So you were in a pure mindful state.
Yes, but I didn't do that alone. Again, that was part of the whole process with the rapé and with the Palo Santo. So then he gets this oil and he puts it on me and around me, and he's like, this is supposed to keep you grounded so that when you're in your trip, you don't forget that you're actually here in the physical plane. That kind of, you know, made me think a little bit.
Basically, don't leave yourself there.
Exactly. Because
you can.
You definitely can. And I wouldn't be the first one to do it. So I kept that in mind. And then he had this like intention sheet, right? He flipped it over. He had me hold this, what I thought was like an amulet or device, or I don't know what it was. But he had me hold something close to my heart and say like these positive affirmations, you know, like, I am here to become a better person, and I am filled with love and positivity, and I aim to grow and help people. You know, but things that I actually believed in, I just didn't write them out myself. He had them for me. So I'm holding these and I'm saying these and actually feeling the words. And he asked me to give him the device back, and I didn't know it, but it was the smoking piece for the DMT.
Ah, okay. So you were blessing it ahead of time.
Correct. And then
I'm sorry. For anybody that does not know DMT or what the situation is, it sounds like you just had a shaman bless a crack pipe to them.
It's not that far off.
Exactly. That's why I'm kind of laughing.
Yes. If you think about it from that sense, it is not far off at all. But
it's not. I get that. I'm just pointing out what society would how they would hear that conversation.
Correct. And yeah, it definitely seems like that, and that's how it seemed in the process. But you know, with the spiritual side behind it, you kind of look past that.
I do. I make jokes. That's all.
Yeah. You definitely look past it. But looking back on it, I was like, that was a super crackhead ass experience.
In the woods, huffing out of a glass pipe with
Seriously.
Exactly. It's all about context.
Yes, the context, but it made the difference. It did make the difference.
Sure it did.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not taking vets to other countries to do this shit for no reason.
Correct. So, and I also forgot to mention, like, within the shaman's, I guess, area of power, or where he's allowed to do these things, because he's a part of a church, he can actually give you guys or give somebody the medicine and have it done legally, because wherever setting that he's in, it's technically a church service. So if you're in a private setting, you know, as long as it's not owned by a municipality, like let's say you're in a house or something that you have ownership on, if he's there giving you the service, he's in his rights. So after all this, he takes the pipe, he starts lighting it, he goes, are you ready? And I have my last little bit of ego fighting against it. I'm like, I really want to do this.
Hey, academics. Have you endured life's tragedies, trials, and tribulations? Did you adapt and overcome? Do you have advice for others to pay forward and want to be a guest? then email us a brief 2 to 3 minute video to show@thetragedyacademy.com and tell us how our academics can learn and grow from these experiences. Thanks again for your support. And now back to class.
I'm like, I've gone this entire way. I've done all this. I did the rapé. Like, that was enough. Like, you know,
you got pixie stick up the nose.
Yes.
You might as well go for it.
Exactly.
Now, did he use like a blowgun, or was this like a off the hand thing? Like he was like a 1980s wrestler with some chalk powder, or what was happening here?
It kind of looked like the edge of a rolling pin. You know how they kind of go out smaller, like the handles, like the edge of that. Like you would taken one of those off, and there was just a hole in the top. So it fits up your nose, but the mouthpiece was wider. So it was cone shape.
Okay.
But yeah, he blew it up like that. It was again, not a great experience, but necessary. And I feel like that's very, very indicative of a lot of life.
I just love it. I love the idea of another dude blowing something up somebody else's nose. Even though it is truly what you're explaining is a spiritual experience, all that type of thing. But you know me, I like to look at things from the outside in. If I were the spectator looking at this, like Mrs. Kravitz or something, you know, oh my God, do you see what they're doing?
Like, what is that? What are you? Yeah.
So you're there, you're getting ready to go.
Right. And then he lights the pipe. And that's when I realized, okay, it's go time. So back to my previous experience with other types of DMT. Again, it's like you feel gravity come down on you and you shoot off in like Magic Mountain at Disney World. You're in this tunnel and you're seeing these lights like you're in space, and you travel and boom, you're instantly somewhere else. Now this, I started inhaling, right? And what I didn't know is he gave me a heroic dose. Typically dosages from his compound are like, you know, like a 0.4 milligram, very, very small.
But because you're experienced, he gave you a bit more.
Correct. Because he knew I could take it. And he was there to calm me down if anything happened to freak me out. And again, one of my best friends, the one who invited me there, was out in the corner. You know, he wasn't in sight, but he was there just in case. I just wanted him there for a little bit of comfort.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're in the woods with some guy you don't know blowing powder up your nose. I'd kind of want my buddy there too.
Yeah, definitely. And not that the shaman didn't make me feel calming, but again, it was definitely a little bit more comfortable having somebody I knew there. So he starts lighting it, and inhale, and it's a slow draw. It's just and I thought I was done, and he goes, no, go again. I open my eyes, look at him, I'm like, you sure? He goes, yeah. I'm like, all right. He goes, hold it. And as soon as I hold it, I could feel my chest get heavy and gravity start to come down on me, like super heavy, to where I was forced to lay down. And instantly, all the negative energies that I had been carrying around, not just that day, not just that week, that year, but my whole life, I could feel all those energy stores in my body getting tapped into and getting pulled out. I could feel the negativity leaving me as if there was a magnet above me, drawing it out of me. And my breathing was involuntary. It looked like I was having a seizure, but it was controlled. Like my body's doing all these types of movements going up and down. My breathing is erratic, and then it goes super deep and super slow, and then erratic again. And it was just this crazy. I had zero control. At that point, I was just the observer, and I was able to watch this experience and feel this experience. And
outside in. So you're talking about you were separate from your body, watching your body go through this?
But yes, but as a part of my body as well, because I could still experience the sensations, but my consciousness was not in my body. My consciousness was outside my body. And as soon as all those energies got pulled, I had the most overwhelming sense of love. Like, it was the most calming, most peaceful, most gratifying, most loving sense that I've ever felt in my life. Like, nothing compares. The only thing I can equate it to possibly is maybe being born and having your mother hold you as soon as you're done.
You see a lot of people that come out of these experiences, they're crying, they're emotional, they're so like overwhelmed with love or those types of things. And you can honestly see that there's something that's happened.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a lie when people come out of it.
Right. And it brought me to the realization, it's like the ego at that point died because I was no longer Lucas. I was no longer me. I became a part of not just every person, but everything in existence. I was the tree. I was the grass underneath me. I was the wind. I was everything that was, everything that will be, and everything that is at the same time. And it's like, at that point, I felt that not just me, but we have this ancient knowledge that's locked in our DNA. And it takes a certain key to unlock what we already know. And that was the key. And I knew that at that point, life was perfection. Within every moment, there is perfection.
Has to be in order to exist.
Correct. There's a large structure that is way further beyond what we can comprehend, but it is there and it's perfect. And we don't have to worry about anything. The only thing we had to do is align, be the best version of ourselves that we can be, and stay in alignment. And we'll be guided. We don't have to act on our own accord. We will feel those impulses to do those certain things. We're going to get those hits of intuition and say, hey, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should be here. Maybe I should talk to this person. You know, maybe you're in a grocery store and you typically don't talk to people, but one day you just get this urge to say, hey, how's your day going? And that conversation is the one that changes your life.
Always does. Taryn and I talk about this all the time. I stumble on things constantly. And you know me, I'm the guy that says hi to whoever. I don't care.
Yeah, of course.
In fact, I don't like to see people be in a bad mood around me.
Sure.
And maybe it's a little bit selfish of myself because I don't want them to give me that feeling.
Correct.
But at the same time, I just don't like to see anybody like that. So I try to make people smile whenever I'm around them. But would you say that that it gave you the understanding that you're only supposed to be authentic and that's it?
Yes. At the end of the story, once the ego dies and once you're no longer identified with who you think you are, you become your true self. And at the end of it, the only feeling left was love. And you hear the phrase like love conquers all, but it's not just some bullshit. Like that is the truth. At the end of it, you have a spectrum of love and then everything that is not love. And the further away we get from that love feeling, the more we are seen to be viewed as crazy or angry or anxious, whatever the case is. But the closer we get to love, the more that things just happen. We don't have to do anything because it'll happen for us. The people that you see who are living their best lives, I guarantee you, not only are they very happy, but they experience love as one of their dominant emotions on a daily basis.
Yep.
So I knew that. I couldn't think it. It was a knowing that I got unlocked through me at that point. But the hardest thing about the entire journey, I want to say, it comes back to Western society and how I was raised. While all this transformative experience was happening, the hardest thing that I had to deal with was letting go.
It's that background. You're from Florida,
right?
And that's a Southern Christian Baptist type of society, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I would argue that what it says in their books is exactly what you're discussing in different forms. But I can see how having that background and growing up around that, it's almost like you have a rope of guilt holding on to your ankle the entire time, or shame because you might be doing something that's against the societal accepted way to do this type of journey. Would that sound about correct? Almost putting you in a I'm fucking with God right now situation.
A little bit, because you do get in touch with whatever God is, whoever God is, you are in it at that point. And I think subconsciously, maybe it was, I don't know necessarily guilt, but so
maybe I'm transferring a little bit of what I think I would feel.
Maybe. I mean, there was some sense of guilt, but only because I felt guilty that I couldn't just be in the experience rather than trying to learn something from it immediately. The learning is going to take place regardless. And I actually understood that afterwards, but I was so selfish in the process that I was like, this is such a transformative experience. I need to be not only in it, but I have to be of it as well, so I can absorb everything. And that's selfish. You know, if you can just...
Oh yeah, if you're looking for enlightenment, then you're fucked.
Right. Because it'll come, but you don't look for it. You just got to be. You have to exist. And I learned that in the process. So again, I understood, not just thought, but I understood that if I can stay in alignment, if I can just be my best self and stay true to myself, then I will be completely fine. And I had understood also that not just for me, but most people, you know, we don't necessarily lie to ourselves all the time, but we do in certain cases, and we justify things. That's the subtle lie that kills us all. We start to accept things that maybe would, like, let's say you're a child, right? You know how children are yes or no. There's no in between. It's I want this or I don't want this. And when you don't want it, you know. But when they want it, you know. That is also a quality I feel like I've lost over the years. And it's a great quality to have, because when you are unapologetically yourself, you get to live the life that you want to live.
There's no restrictions within the brain that are created by other people's judgment.
Exactly.
If you center yourself and you do things naturally,
Right.
if you follow those impulses and not impulses that are created by society, impulses that come from within, because I would argue that the first impulse that most people have is to reach out to somebody in their time of need. And that could be the most treacherous situation. You could see somebody standing on the side of the street screaming and smacking themselves. And we know so many people walk by,
Right.
but that's not initially what they wanted to do.
Right.
They wanted to help them,
Sure.
but they thought about the situation. They weighed everything else. And the mind said, that's a problem. That's not a situation that we want to involve ourselves in. When in reality, we should have and could have and would have without the mind interfering. We would have embraced that person immediately.
Right.
We would have done everything we could for them because that's what's natural to our being.
Right.
It is not to ostracize or step away. In fact, I would argue that it's a form of guilt, and it's a form of not accepting and being grateful for the things that you have in your life at that moment. And in order to do that, you have to accept that you've got a good life in comparison to that person in front of you.
Sure.
Nobody wants to do that.
Sure.
We have to be authentic.
Right.
We have to be ourselves because it allows us to be that person that reaches out to that, to somebody in their time of need.
Correct. And that's a big difference maker. If you can be that for somebody, you could change somebody's life. And the issue is with us, and I know with me personally, it's such a subtle thing. You may get a millisecond of a thought saying, hey, I need to go help this person. And then the brain kicks in right after, literally a millisecond right after. Hey, you're doing well. It's not your problem. Continue to go about your path. It's going to make your journey longer to wherever you were going. You don't know what they're going through. You might not be equipped to all these thoughts that are going to deter you from doing what you initially would have done in the first place. They happen so fast. And that's
called life.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
That's life from day one all the way through to figure out that you were doing everything not to be day one.
Right.
Everything not to be who you are. You see people, I think the pandemic made this very apparent for a lot of people that they realized that they were toiling.
Yeah.
That they were literally in an ant farm and they weren't even aware that the ant farm existed.
Of course.
And now they're seeing that they get no fulfillment from these mindless drone-like jobs and lives that we live.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we don't need to function as a society, but we need to look where we derive our reward and our self-worth and our being from. If it's from, a spreadsheet, it better be a spreadsheet that really has some fucking loving shit on it.
Yes.
I can't think of much else.
Exactly.
If you're stuck in that position societally and this is the career that you have, then you feel like you can't do something else. Well, hey, that's bullshit. You can't do anything.
Of course.
It's literally nothing you can't do. But if you're in a position where you have to stay in the machine for a certain amount of time, use it as a machine.
Right.
Don't derive your self-worth from it. Go home, get your self-worth from your family.
Right.
Get your self-worth with get your self-worth from yourself.
Right.
Because you're no good to anybody else until you fucking figure out who the hell you are.
It's true. It's like you can't continue to pour into other people's cup if your cup is not full, because it's going to leave you empty every single time. So if you're deriving your self-worth from everything else that's outside of you, then you will never feel fulfilled or satisfied, because you, like you said earlier, you're placing everything that you need to find within onto something that's external, and that'll never leave you 100% whole.
And that happens because of the simple fact that we fought so hard to be authentic throughout our whole life. So then you get to that point in life where you feel like everything you have done, which is true, has been for naught except for to figure out who you are.
Right.
Right. You just look back at it with all of this guilt and wonder, what did I give up? What did I lose? What is all those things? And then when you feel like you can't get them or you've missed out on the chance, you tack it on to somebody else.
Yeah.
And you say, you know what? That's my hero. That's the one that's going to make everything that I did right. They're going to give me that justification that I can't get myself because there was nothing to justify to begin with. It's sad.
Yeah, it is.
It creates, sports teams. Literally, our country looked like sports teams for a while.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, super weird. I think that if you could find yourself then you'll understand that that justification that we do on that daily basis is not necessary. But it takes brutal honesty. So a few months later, it was my mother's birthday, and she and I took her out for, you know, a little lunch or whatever, something simple. And I broke down and cried to her unintentionally because I had realized that I was lying to myself. But it wasn't blatant lies. It was that justification. And I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. So most of us, we're probably in the same boat. We don't think we're doing anything wrong.
We don't even know it exists.
Yeah.
We don't even know that the reality that we walk within is something different than what is actually going on around us. And the funny thing is we have millions of clues. They're plants and animals.
Everywhere.
So many clues with everything else that's not engaging the same manner. They're not, you know, and I think it's evolutionary. I think that we're opening up. Our minds are becoming different. I think that religions predicted it, and they said that over a certain amount of time that we would start to come to self-realizations. Truth is, it's now.
Right.
That is the only thing that there is that's true. It's never tomorrow. It's never yesterday. It's always now. And then all we do is create a cage around our brain with yesterday and tomorrow of depression and anxiety. And guess what? OCD, ADHD, all these other things, they're screams. They're the brain screaming, the heart screaming to let it out of a false cage. We put people in jail for crimes against a false reality.
Yep.
Think about that. Things that we created that should have never existed, we take away their lives for.
It's insane to think about.
All across the board. It's all insanity, but it allows you also to relieve not just the situation you had where you had the realization that your memories were not what they could have been or should have been based on outside input or social stimuli or whatever it is that creates what we believe is our life path. And if you're in that situation, you don't think that I lost where I was going. I'm trying to think about the best way to describe this. We don't realize that other people before this realization get the same card.
Yep.
So every single bit of guilt and shame and things that they have that you pinned on them and vice versa, you get to see that it unravels and it's not their fault.
Right.
It's a cosmic joke.
Right.
It's really right in front of our faces. It's just hard to accept. I mean, this is a super existential episode, but I don't care what book you're reading. They all say something similar, and they all say fucking be cool, trust each other, love each other. It's all about right now, nothing more, nothing less. And
do unto others as you would have.
Dude, that's like the easiest one to follow.
Yeah. And but that's you. I love that statement because not only does it exist in all major religions, but if you think about it in the greater sense, we are all each other. We're mirror reflections of each other.
Everything we hate in the other person or dislike is what we hate about ourselves.
Yeah.
If that's not a mirror, I don't know what is.
Right.
If you want a justification for people having problems with homosexuals, it's because they have latent homosexual thoughts, and they really have to stand up as loud and be as loud as they can for everybody not to know that they're having those thoughts.
Right.
It's the same thing. Like, they want to be black. They want to have an identity. Guess what? White people, there's a lot that are jealous of black people. You know why? Because they look happy as fuck when they're with their family. You know why? Because they are.
Yeah.
And you know what you do in that situation? You hate it because it's not you. There's so many things. There's so many reasons. It's not the only reason that that exists, but it's just one of the many slices of that pie. I just spit everywhere.
The slices
of life. Well, you know, that's my pizza theory. I think that all religions are a slice of pizza and they're pointed at that white table in the middle. That's God protecting us from the fucking box. That's all it is.
That is a great analogy for life. I like that. I'm going to use that.
It really, it's the only way I can think, because if we all came from one spot, right, and we grew outward, we still have to have the roots of where we came from.
Correct.
Right? So we're still a pizza.
Correct.
The only thing is that we're adding toppings as we move out.
Right.
Because it's still the same thing in the center, you know, somewhere in the Mesopotamian river valley where all this shit started. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it all says just do unto others. I just said this when I was talking to Demi Ramos the other day. She was on the show, and it really came down to, she said she liked to treat everybody as if they were the most important person in the room anytime she met with someone, no matter who they were. And, you know, when you think about that, anytime you have treated somebody without faking it as the most important person in the world, how did they treat you back?
The exact same way.
Every single time.
Without fail.
So long as your intent was genuine.
Correct. If you don't want anything from them, if you just want to treat them well because you feel they deserve that, because they are a person, which is a miracle.
Yeah, we had this really cool dude called JC that used to wash feet and shit of people that nobody else wanted to go around. Do unto others as you would have them do unto yours.
Sure.
Or unto you. Jesus, man. I'm off my time. We started the show a little early today. Dude, we've talked about so much, and I know you've got so much going on and coming up. Tell people where they can find you on Instagram first.
So my Instagram handle is Sir Luke Skywalker. It's like SIRLUC Skywalker.
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, it should be like after Uncle Luke from back in the day.
It's a combination. Uncle
It's gotta
Luke and
be.
the Jedi vibes.
Okay, so it's a mix. I like that.
It is.
I like that. Dude, you're gonna have to come back on the show. We're running up on time. Otherwise, I would keep going. You know, I can talk about this kind of shit all day long.
For sure.
But what I'd like to have everybody take away from this episode is that it's best to be yourself.
Always.
And to love each other, and the rest will come in time.
100%.
Anything you want to leave people with?
Be the change you wish to see.
Affect change. I like it. All right, academics. Remember, be cool, keep learning.
Hey, academics.
Solid.
Thanks again for attending another class at the Tragedy Academy. You can show us some love by subscribing, downloading, and rating us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. Or ask Amazon Alexa to play the Tragedy Academy podcast. You can find links to all major podcast platforms and past episodes at thetragedyacademy.com. You can find us on all the majors of social media, on Instagram at The Tragedy Academy 2019, on TikTok at The Tragedy Academy, and on Twitter at Tragedy_Academy, where we'll post our clips of upcoming shows, updated info, and thoughts. If you'd like to be a guest, send an email to show@thetragedyacademy.com. Keep an eye out on Instagram for Tragedy Academy giveaways. Thanks again for coming to class, and remember, be cool, keep learning.